Do you have a feeling or maybe a recollection of a time where you were like, man, everything went really well that day? I could feel the flow happening, and one thing just led to another in a very supportive way, whatever that is for you, or you were witnessing some kids being sweet to each other and you could just feel that joy bubble up out of you. Grab that, hold on to it, and use it whenever you feel doubt or you feel insecure or any of those other lower frequency energies. And when you don't feel so great about yourself or life, that frequency will help you because that knowing that it's available will help you also when you're feeling like you're growing. And that doesn't always feel great because the discontent is challenging. But the discontent is also when you can say, hi, I'm Vicki Baird, and I have created my successful business by helping other people become successful in their own lives. This podcast, Intuition, Your Success Compass, is the tool you've been looking for to find your due north. We all have a soul and we all have an internal knowing. And in this podcast, you will learn to combine what your soul knows, your human self's brilliant intelligence, and the connection to the desire to live a life that is fully successful in whatever that definition is for you. Sound good? Good. Now let's get to it. Hey, how are you? Vicky here. How's the first quarter of the year going for you? Can you believe we are already in March? While I know time has its own frequency and supposedly we follow a 24-hour clock, I feel like it flies by these days, and I'm so grateful for a practice of presence, which, let's face it, 75% of the time I'm in. The other 25%, I like being a space cadet or being distracted or, quite frankly, being in avoidance. It's okay. It's a good percentage. Speaking of time flying by, can you absolutely believe that this is the last chapter of the It series, which is based on the book I wrote in 2012 as a part of a writing competition with Hay House. Everyone has an It, a guide to help you accept, accentuate, and appreciate yours. Yes, alliteration has lived long in my brain and in my whole body. I just absolutely love alliteration and an analogy, and evidently A words, because I'm realizing that they are all of these. This chapter is 20. It's the last chapter. It is where I say, you've got it. You've got all you need within you. The answers are within you. Your brilliance is within you. You've got it. We even have data we can pull together to prove that you've got it. And I get to celebrate you and to be so grateful that you've listened to these episodes and that you've appreciated them. The numbers are actually pretty good on these. I wasn't sure if that was going to happen. And of course, I don't do everything for the numbers and the feedback. If one person gets what they need from one of these recordings, I am thrilled with that. However, the numbers are really good on these, which makes me feel like I ought to edit this book and get it up to time and re-release it. And we'll put that on the list of things to do. So as I read this chapter, it's going to be a very short podcast because you've got things to do. You've got a life that you want to do all of it, whatever it is. I am going to do another series, and I will be totally transparent with you and say, I don't know what that is yet. I'm going to let it drop in, or I'm going to take a request from you lovely people that are listening to this. And if there's a subject that you would like me to cover in a series format, I will do that too, as long as I can speak intelligently to it. I don't want to be just making stuff up here. There's enough of that in the world, don't you think? As a side note, do you ever do things like this where you're recording your voice like as dictation for a Google Doc? If you haven't done that yet, it's brilliant, especially for those of us that are auditory learners or like to talk a lot, and you go to put in the punctuation like you do when you're dictating to your phone. Every time I do this podcast, I have to catch myself and not say comma, quotation marks, exclamation point. Because I've gotten into such a habit of dictating everything in my life that when it comes to this, I have to edit. And sometimes you'll hear the lilt in my voice where I've slowed down and in total clarity of who I am because I don't have any secrets. That's what's going on. I'm realizing that I was just going to say comma. And yes, I can edit those out. Well, Enrique can edit those out. But my brain doesn't know that at the moment. And it just stops, pulls on the parking brake, and is like, we're not moving until you realize that you're trying to punctuate something that doesn't need it. So, yeah, I've got that going for me. So, in this chapter of You've Got It, you really do. And I am not sure we can define what it is, as it's different for everyone, much like success. But one thing I do know is that when a person connects with themselves, it is better than any it factor description someone could assign. Years ago, they would say they have it. And then it's like, well, your it might not be my it. So how do we know they have it? And what it are we trying to fill? The main reason I wrote this book was to help people realize that they have whatever it takes to be the greatest version of themselves already accessible. There is not one soul on this planet, including the animals or plants, that isn't about growth and isn't here to expand and learn as much as they possibly can. Now, the one cell amoeba, you may think that they're not expanding very much, but it could be, quantifiably massive for them to, I don't know, wiggle or something. I'm not a biology expert. I don't know. But we all have that capability, and our soul is always going to be pushing us towards growth and expansion and understanding who we are. And the exciting part of that is whomever you are can happen in any moment. And I won't say the best version of yourself, which in transparency is in the book, but I've come to the idea that to ask people to be the best version of themselves feels punitive. It feels like it's also like you're going to reach some kind of ceiling and never go beyond that. And I know that's not possible because even when you croak, your soul expands and it gets excited about learning more and expressing more. So what we're really striving for is the most expressed version of ourselves, or the most expanded in this moment timestamp right now that is possible, because there really isn't an expiration to your greatness, nor is there a ceiling. So to be the best version of yourself, one, it's not possible because in the non-physical, you don't have an ego. So if we were being picky about this, it would be in the non-physical we are the best expression of ourselves. But even that's not possible because then in that place, you're desiring more knowledge of self and understanding of other people and this universe as a whole. So there won't ever be a best. Yeah, I'm great with, I am some days my most mediocre self. I am my most sit on the couch and watch a few episodes of something. I am stare at the wood fire for hours on end. I'm healing my limbic system is what I tell myself when I do that. And breathing and connecting to self. So wherever you want to go is possible if you believe that you already have that within you. And yes, sometimes we need coaches or therapists or best friends or our animals to help expand that within ourselves, but we absolutely already have it in there. And if you know that and you allow yourself to be surrounded by others of that frequency and the awesomeness of this universe, awesome was a really big word when I wrote this book. So, yeah. But there's also, I'm always in awe, AWE, of this universe and all that is possible. So you have that within you. And that's not to put pressure. It's simply means that if you want to tap into it and allow that to be expressed in a gentle smile, that would be amazing. Thank you for sharing that. So, in this idea of expansion, think back to a time when you feel like you knew everything. Maybe in your teen years. Perhaps since then, in circumstances where everything was aligned and you were in the flow of yourself. W- Was there a time where that happened? Can you remember feeling connected to yourself, if ever, in that way? And the reason I say if ever is because until I had a consciousness this was possible, I could not have put my finger on. I could not have said to you yes when I was a child. I used to go out in the field and I would just sit in the middle of that field because it was a safe space for me. And I could feel the energy of the earth and I could feel how big the universe was and how much it really loved me. But I didn't know that then. I just thought I was sitting in the middle of the grass where I was had some space from family and I was feeling totally lined up with myself, but I didn't know that then. Looking back on it and having a memory of that, I was like, oh, that's what that feels like. So now when I feel completely disconnected from myself, I go for that feeling. I go for 10-year-old Vicky in the field, just bringing in all of that earth energy and feeling like everything is okay right here. Interesting that I was in the middle of a very exposed field and feeling safer than in any enclosed area. So when I grab the essence of that and hold on to it, I use it whenever there's doubt. So I wonder, do you have a feeling of that? Do you have a feeling or maybe a recollection of a time where you were like, man, everything went really well that day? I could feel the flow happening, and one thing just led to another in a very supportive way. Whatever that is for you, or you were witnessing some kids being sweet to each other and you could just feel that joy bubble up out of you. Grab that, hold on to it, and use it whenever you feel doubt or you feel insecure or any of those other lower frequency energies. And when you don't feel so great about yourself or life, that frequency will help you because that knowing that it's available will help you also when you're feeling like you're growing, and that doesn't always feel great because the discontent is challenging. But the discontent is also when you can say, I've got this, I've got it. I no longer align with where I am and I am growing. And you can celebrate that too. You've got it. You've got it within you. You've got you within you. You've got the essence of the universe within you. You've got all those supportive energies, and as long as you're kind to yourself and you recognize that growing is just that, it's an expansion of your energy field. It's an expansion of your consciousness, of your knowledge, of your habits, of your beliefs, of your action points. And growing is amazing and it feels good. And you get to raise your vibration over and over again. And the more you do that, it does get easier and there's less resistance because you connect with that adventurous spirit inside of you. And if you don't know something, you can reflect on other times where you didn't know something. You can be courageous and ask and find somebody who does know, and then ask them to guide you or walk alongside of you until you remember that you knew it all along. This is often what I do in coaching. And I am very clear to say, I know you already know this, and my job is here to remind you of this. So, like you say, if somebody is catastrophizing, I ask permission in the beginning of coaching and say, is it okay for me to say, it seems like in this moment, your subconscious wants to make it bigger than it is? Is that true? So that's an example of having somebody walk alongside you to remind you of your brilliance, of your essence. And if you want to learn something, be brave and go for it and just do it because you've got it inside of you. And it's okay if you have a little bit of stage fright in your own life. Lots of people who end up on stage have massive stage fright. And this isn't comparison. It's just to say that sometimes we have to do things when our knees are knocking because it's a call from our soul to experience the joy of afterwards. It's like a good workout, right? Like you go into it, oh, I don't want to do this. And then about 10, 15 minutes in, you're like, okay, I got this. Sometimes it takes a little bit for our brain to catch on that we're not actually afraid of what's happening. We're maybe a little bit afraid of our success and then what will happen from there. But that's okay. You've been expanding this whole time since the very first blink of light when you became a soul. So you have this. It's the reminding of yourself that you've got it that can often require constant input and supervision. And yes, even vigilance. So if you're feeling that, take a nice deep breath, picture an audience that is thrilled to hear what you have to say, and get out on that stage and enjoy yourself. That stage can be your backyard and the birds are your audience. That stage can be a literal stage where you're singing your original music. That stage can be your volunteer program that you've had in your mind and didn't know how to go about it. And you decide that you're going to start asking because what the heck, people actually do want to help. So, however you find yourself challenged, constantly remind yourself that you have the abilities to succeed and you have all of the knowing of your soul to guide you. And connecting in with that soul means being calm, being present, and asking. A couple chapters back, ask for it. If you decide to use any of the tools that I've laid out in this book and take life with some humor, you will do very well, no matter what's seeming like a challenge. You will prosper in your own brilliance and in your own affinity for being a human. Because, man, if you don't have a sense of humor as a human, then you're missing out on the brilliance that's here all the time in that message and in examples. They show up every day. So if you allow yourself to believe in you the way I believe in you, and know that without a doubt, you have something great to contribute to the whole of our universe, and you get to decide what that is. No one else gets to do that. I can believe in you, but I don't get to ask you for what you want to contribute. That is not up to myself, and it is not up to anybody else. However, I thank you for being a part of our universe, because every one of us is powerful and amazing and here to bring something to this universe. We all matter, and we are matter that is impacting others. So if butterfly wing is going to impact, you better believe you are. Oh, just take the compliment. Would you receive it? Thank you. There's going to be moments where rebounding happens, and that's the beauty of being eternal. There's going to be moments where you absolutely believe in everything that you have to offer, and there are going to be moments where you're like, who let me have a mortgage? Who said I could adopt this dog? Who thought it was a good idea to buy a bicycle? Who turned me into an owl in this last 2 minutes? We are all eternal beings doing the best we can with what we have at the time, with an innate knowledge that expansion is absolutely necessary, or we will be extinct. And there's enough going on in the world that we don't have to contribute to that either. Knowing that you're growing and you're learning and everything is part of that process can take a lot of pressure out of living and put some of the appreciation back, because it develops a belief that is ongoing and that, you know what, we're never going to get it all done. So I may as relax and appreciate my to-do list, or the fact that, yes, once again, I get to experience a Northeast winter and likely will for the rest of my days. And that's okay, because that's part of my expansion and my acceptance too. And just yesterday, I totally rocked the snowblower action for the first time in a decade. It was so much fun. So much fun. And as I saw the snow clearing out of my way, I'm like, I'm clearing blocks from my life. I'm clearing out any beliefs that are no longer serving. It made it a lot of fun. That's what I mean about having humor with your life and acceptance of where you are, and then allowing the brilliance to be there, because my partner did not want to run it. And I'm like, I got this. I'll do it. And it ended up being so much stinking fun. And that's an example of how we can look at life. And the only exercise in this chapter is to appreciate yourself. That's it. I want you to appreciate who you are, how you're wired, embrace your brilliance, let us see your uniqueness, what is the essence of you, embrace how you see the world, what you bring to the world, and your importance in this world. That's your only exercise, is appreciation of self. I thank you for your contribution to this book, Then and Now, in its bite-sized chapters. And I am very excited to hear what success means to you and how your incremental steps have led to the exciting, heart-fulfilling, blessed life that you create for yourself. And you write the next chapter. So let me know what you've learned to appreciate about yourself. And remember, you've got it. And I will see you in the next episode, because the series may be over, but I'll be back. Thank you for listening to this episode of Intuition, Your Success Compass. I appreciate you being here. If you would like more information about developing your intuitive skills, removing those blocks, and creating the life that feels the most successful to you, then head on over to vickibaird.com. That's VICKIBAIRD.com, and check out the courses, the groups, and the Spaces app that will allow you to be part of our community and know about upcoming events and specials. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next episode.